are, ladies and gentlemen, episode 3. There is no time for fucking chemistry, but there is time for some fucking. And it's your boy Icon with another TV review for you going over that warrior. So, we're printing fake money. He's printing that burner. So when the episode starts, Young June and the gang, they all go down because like the black dudes, they were holding some product for them. Like I guess they were the Africans. I don't know, like who they were, Caribbeans. I don't know. But they the girl did her job. Like she printed the money. She got the fake money printed out, and then now they're gonna use the fake money to give to the black people, so the black people can give them their product back because they asked them to hold on to their product. So they give them the test. Like the guy looks at it and he's just like he's like, yes, give them their product, and then they give them their products, and now the Hopway is back in Bisoness. So Young June, for some reason, he's basically making it rain at the club. He's at the whorehouse, like letting the bills fly. He goes off into the street and he starts passing out bills in the street. And then, that's when Hassan was just like, bro, he said that making counterfeit bills wasn't supposed to be the solution. It was supposed to be a solution. And then that's when Young June told him, he said, listen, he said, I'm distributing the money out into the community because the community is going to take the fake bills. They're going to give them to, consumers for goods and services. And then we're going to get real money back in return. And then he said, plus, by me dishing out some of this fake money, I look like a hero and I build some rapport with the community. So he was like, at first you were on my ass about beating up the consumers, and now that I'm trying to help them, now you're still on my ass. So there's still this thing with Young June where he still has an issue with Hazam, like being questioning him and everything. Like he feels like everybody's questioning him and that he can't hold up, to the honor that his dad once bestowed upon the Hopway. So that's going to be a thing. It didn't really manifest, that. Actually, if I'm being honest, Young June was surprisingly calm about that whole exchange because he just like, look, man, he said, I'm in charge. Just let me handle the big picture shit, and you just make sure that girl keeps printing the money. And I have to give him credit for that because I thought he was going to blow up. I thought they were going to have a fight in the street. So anyway, so now regarding the printer's daughter, her and Hassam are totally going to do it because he's hanging around her because he has to keep her safe because she's printing that guap. And then while they're hanging out together, he's trying to get to know her, but she's being standoffish as always. And then later on, he ended up bringing her some food, and then she said the food was trash, so she took him to a better food spot. There was a moment where he was in the basement training with his shirt off, and then she saw him with his shirt off. He had to pat her down. They shared dumplings together. Then he ended up walking her home. After he walked her home, he tried to pat her down again to see, because they don't really trust her like that. So it was his orders to pat her down to make sure she doesn't steal anything. And then while he was patting her down, the two of them shared a moment, which means they're totally going to do it at some point, in the future. And then when the printer's daughter went home, we found out that in her hairpin, she's actually printing fake money for herself, and she's stealing it from the Hopway. And that's going to be a thing at some point too. And the weird thing about it is when they do find out that she is stealing money from them, Young June is most likely going to order her execution, and Hazam's not going to want to do it because one, he'll be sleeping with her by then, and two, that's like killing the golden goose because she's the only person who knows how to print the fake money. Now, regarding the Secret Service, they've enlisted the services of Richard, to come work for them, because in the last episode, the guy who's working from the Secret Service, he went to Richard and he was just like, hey, he said, come work for me, help me get the plates back, and then I'll make your little situation in Georgia disappear. His beautiful colored girlfriend, she was just like, oh, that badge is bad business for you, baby. She's bad business for us. But I do agree with him because, first of all, he's white. So him, him putting on the badge is perfectly fine for him. He can just stay away from the bar for a while. And then his whole thing is, he said that if the two of them ever have a chance of being together in the future, of actually making something of their lives, he needs to at least give this a shot, and hopefully that the guy will hold his word and make his whole situation disappear. So she allows him to go through with it, and now he's back, now he's back working for the government. So they go down to the police department, Big Bill ends up talking to him. He's like, I thought you quit police work. And then he was just like, he said, just until we find the plates. So the two of them, he's just like, oh, I'm going to go down and talk to Chow. He's like, well, Chow doesn't like it. He's like, well, I'll make him talk. So then he goes and talks to Chow. Chow tells him to kick rocks, basically. Chow was like, you'll get out of my shop. The Secret Service head guy was following Chow throughout the streets. Chow dipped on him, and then, he managed to get away. Mai Ling is still schmoozing with them white folks. She's actually at one of their art galleries now. And Mai Ling has basically, she thinks she's making that transition of she's trying to become a westernized woman. She's trying to get into their circle. She's trying to be them. There was even a moment where she saw the acting Mayor Buckley at the party at the art gallery, and then she tipped a drink to him, and then he's just like, why is this Chinese woman here? Because, the two of them are in cahoots or whatever. And then she was talking to the white girl who invited her to the party. And then so the woman that spoke to Buckley in the second episode who was trying to help him with his campaign, she appeared again. And then when she saw, I think the girl's name was Elizabeth, when she saw Elizabeth and Mai Ling together, she said, oh, Elizabeth has another one of her projects. This is not going to end well. And we met Elizabeth's husband, who is an investment banker, and he owns several banks, like in San Francisco. So Mai Ling is going to try to get in with him and try to like schmooze up to him and get close to him, so she can do investments and she can hopefully do bigger deals and try to get herself out of Chinatown. The problem is, I feel like one of two things is going to happen here. Either Elizabeth and her husband are basically, letting Mai Ling think she can eventually be one of them, and then they're going to embarrass her in front of a live studio audience somehow, or the two of them are like a sex couple, and they're going to try to get Mai Ling to do like some threesome, because one of them probably has a fantasy of having a threesome with an Asian girl. So it's something going to happen, and Mai Ling's basically going to end up killing all of them. Like, like I see it coming down. But the fact that the husband got brought into the mix and they had this conversation, it was just very weird how the whole thing went down. So something is definitely afoot here, and I'm actually looking forward to see how this whole thing is going to play out. So later on, while Young Jun was making it rain at the strip club, Chow was talking to Hassam, and then he told Hassam, he was just like, oh, he was like, the Hop way, is making strides, but things are still very bad. And then that's when Hassam was just like, yeah, he's like, but things aren't bad for the long Z. He was just like, we got the cops cracking down on us, and like we're too busy worried about the heat that the cops bring. And he was like, don't you find it funny that Mai Ling is not worried about the heat? Because see, the thing is, Chow knows that she made a deal with the cops. But because he's Chow and he plays all sides of the fence, he's not going to flat out come out and say it. But then Hassam put two and two together, and he went to go talk to his sister, and then the two of them had a conversation walking around, and he told his sister, he was like, look, he said, whatever deal you made with the Ducks, it's not going to last, and eventually they're going to turn on you. And then she's just like, oh, don't be jealous because you lost, And then she told Hassam, she was just like, oh, you don't have to go down with the long Z, and then he with the Hop way, and then he was just like, don't worry, I won't, because she doesn't know they're printing fake money. And Hassam knows that she did make a deal, but he doesn't know what the extent the deal is. So I like the brother-sister dynamic. Like, I like the two of them together. I like the two of them having scenes together. And it's just only a matter of time before something gives. Mr. Leary now, Leary was hired to, remember in the last episode, he was hired to go down to this one businessman on behalf of another businessman and shake him out of his boots and get him to play fair. This is the same guy who got the contract for the railroad, and he's trying to get the other white lady with the wine vineyard, he's trying to get her to sell so he can build his railroad. So Leary rolls up on him. He ends up having his goons with him. Then he tells Leary, like, come on and let's have a chat. And then he told Leary, he said that, listen, I'm not the type of guy that you threaten. I'm the type of guy that you make a deal with. And I'm pretty sure he made a deal with Leary to where when the railroad project gets built, he promised him that he would use Irish labor to help build the railroad. So what he's going to do now is he basically, the offer that the first businessman gave him to set the guy straight, he basically like doubled that offer. So now Leary's rolling with him. And then when the guy was just like, oh, you and I had a deal, he was like, yeah, but this guy gave me a better deal. And then he told him to kick rocks. And I feel like now what's going to happen is he wants to get his hand on the wine vineyard. He's going to hire Leary and, some of the Irish goons to try to do away with the Chinese and try to do away with the wine vineyard once and for all. Which brings us to the climax of the episode, which is the end of the episode. And my God, this was brutal. And I called this, I called this last season, and I said it in the last review. And I don't know if this was Leary's men or not, but basically the businessman who's trying to get Homegirl to sell her wine vineyard so he can build his railroad. He came up to her earlier in the episode, and he was just like, look, he said, I don't know how the government would feel. Not only are you hiring Chinese whores, he said, they might think you're running a brothel. And then he said, they're not going to be too kind of you sleeping with one and sharing your bed with one. And then she was like, get off my property. So then this fool, and again, I don't know if this is Leary's men or not, but at the end of the episode, this guy basically hired some of his Irish goons to go down to the wine vineyard and basically burn the place to the ground. They set fire to the vineyard. They were lighting the poor Chinese women on fire. They burnt the crops. They burnt the berries and everything. And like I said before, when they came for the wine vineyard and they came for the Chinese women and they came to destroy the vineyard, guess who was there to save the day? The good old 18-year-old. And she brought out the hatchets, and she was cutting throats and chopping heads. And like it was almost like 12 white guys came in to burn the place down, and only 2 went home because the rest of them died. Even Otoye, like she still got the shoulder thing, but she was still busting ass with her one good hand. Like the white girl, she came out with the shotgun and she was shooting everybody. And then for the love of God, the Chinese women that live in the wine vineyard, like there was a point where the women were getting beat up, like by the white guys, but then the Chinese women, bless their souls, like they fought back. Like 4 of them ganged up on this one guy, and they all fought to protect their home and keep their home safe. The problem is, like, they ended up chasing the white guys away. They chased them off the property, but the problem is they had already torched the land. And it's not like she had a fire hose, like handy, and there's no telephone where you can call the local fire department. So in the morning, the place is obviously going to burn to the ground. She's going to be in a position where she's going to have to start all over, and she's probably not going to want to start over. So she's going to be forced to have to sell because, like, there's nothing else she can do. But if she still has all those Chinese women like on her property, all those women together can help her rebuild her farm and rebuild her house. So I'm not worried about that because she's going to use that because it's free labor. She's going to use that labor, to fix things and to to rebuild what she has. And now it's going to be war because knowing Otoye, she's going to end up, putting on the hood and going out at night because she's going to try to stop the white guy, from doing any further damage to the wine vineyard. She's going to try to protect it now. So now it's going to be this whole big thing where the government's going to try to take the land and the Chinese women are going to hold firm. I don't know where the Hopway like fits into all this, but it's going to be very interesting. And that was the end of the episode, and thank you for tuning in. So this show is good. This show is really good. Like, I fucks with some Warrior. And I mean, everything from the printing press to all the new characters with the Secret Service in the mix. And then, like I said, we still got the police in the mix. Like the new chief of police, he didn't get any shine in this particular episode because we were more focused on the Secret Service guy. But like I said, Richard's working for him now. So it's going to be a clash between a lot of different people and a lot of different personalities. But once again, the Hatchet Man, the guy who got locked up in season 1, and then he ended up being at the end of season 2, he's still out there in the wind somewhere, and no one's still mentioning Penny. Penny's still a thing. And I feel like Penny's gonna show up in like the season finale or something. Like, Penny's still a thing, and she gonna come back, and it's gonna be crazy when Penny come back. But share your questions, comments, and or concerns down below so we continue to talk about it. Just hit me up on Twitter and or Instagram, always on YouTube. Check out my episode 1 and my episode 2 reviews of Warrior. Check out my Marvel and Secret Invasion reviews that are up on my YouTube channel. And hell, go watch my Superman and Lois season finale because that was dope too, as we roll on for more superhero goodness, and eventually I'll get around to recording that Batman Doom. So that was it, guys. So till next time for episode 4 of Warrior, take care, may the power be with you, and I am out this bitch.